Cost of living in Atlanta. Today we ask the question, will you go broke living here? Stick around for the answer. I'm TJ and thanks for coming by the Living in Atlanta, Georgia channel, where we talk about what it's like to live and move to Atlanta, Georgia. We're all realtors on the team here, so if you have any questions or if you're thinking about a move, get a hold of us. Okay, you may be considering a move to Atlanta and you want to know if you can afford it. So of course it all depends on your specific situation, but I'm going to do my best to kind of give you some idea of what it's like to the expenses that you're going to be going through. If you've seen some of my other videos about moving to the Atlanta area, you already know that the job market is thriving. There's over a dozen Fortune 500 companies in the area, and there's other employers, large employers like healthcare industry, and there's even a booming film industry, believe it or not. It's the new Hollywood of the South. So we're talking about income, talking about jobs. The median income for the city of Atlanta, that's inside the city, is about $65,000. That's the median. When you get out to the suburbs and some of the surrounding counties, that can go up as high as about $100,000 in some areas. According to the Cost of Living Index published by the Council for Community on Economic Research, the cost of living in Atlanta is about 18% higher than the rest of the state of Georgia, and about 5% higher than the national average. But when compared to other major US cities, Atlanta remains one of the most affordable. For example, the cost of living in New York City is about 145% higher than it is here in Atlanta. How about those home prices? Zillow.com puts the average home in Atlanta at a value of about $400,000. In the greater metro Atlanta area, once you get outside in the surrounding counties and the suburbs, it could get a little bit higher than that, but it ranges from about $375,000 up to about $500,000, depending on where you are. Atlanta's a pretty big, sprawled out city, so it depends on where you're located there. But you can, for some idea, it's about $375,000 to $500,000. To put that in perspective, it's very possible that you get a 4-bedroom home with a nice yard and a 2-car garage for about the same amount of money that you would spend monthly on an apartment, a studio apartment in New York City. So your monthly mortgage is likely to be less than what you spend on a studio apartment in Manhattan, which I can help you buy down here if you'd like. Shameless plug. What about all the other expenses like utilities and transportation? Well, if you're from one of the northern states and moving down here, you'll be relieved to learn that you don't really have to use heat all that much down here, so your heating expense isn't going to be really high. And if for a 2,500 square foot home, on average, you can expect to spend about $100 only in the really cold months of the winter, which really isn't that. Maybe 1 or 2 months out of the winter, you're going to be spending that. It's really the chilliest part of the winter. On the other hand, when you run that air conditioner during the humid summer months, it's about 2 months out of the year at least that you're going to be running that air conditioner because it gets hot and humid, sticky down here. That's just the fact of living in Atlanta. Depending on where your thermostat is set, you could spend about $300 a month in about 2 months out of the year in the thick of the summertime in a 2,500 square foot home. Of course, if you have a smaller house or you're living in an apartment, that cost is going to be less. And if you're living in a 4,000 square foot home, the cost is going to be more. So it's all kind of relative. Other utilities like cable, streaming services, they tend to be about the same as other cities, comparable to other cities in the US. Cost of food and other necessities tend to be a little bit more affordable in Atlanta. We're still a major city, so if you're moving from a rural area or a small town, then the prices may be a little bit higher. So I know that's kind of vague, but it does depend on your specific situation, and depending on your job and income, and cost of living is a little bit different for everybody. But in general, this is a broad stroke of what you can expect. So the taxes in Atlanta, so Georgia does have an income tax, unlike Florida or Texas that do not. So you can expect that, and of course that's just like the federal income tax. It's on a scale of how much you make, and then property taxes tend to be reasonable, and that does depend on the county with which you reside in. So I could list all the counties and list kind of the millage rates or the property taxes rates, but that would take forever and maybe a whole nother video. And then just one more thing about tax. Georgia does have a sales tax. It's about 4%. And then some of the local municipalities also have a sales tax as well. So I think the highest that you're going to find in the Metro Atlanta area is a little over 7% for a sales tax. Be sure to watch my next video about living in or moving to Atlanta. And as always, you can reach out to me directly or book a Zoom call directly from our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.